basically had a mental breakdown in the report. And that was the only teacher that I was really, really worried about. And then when we finished it, because you used to go sit with your parents and they'd sit there and basically slag you off to your mum and dad. And I just remember sitting there thinking, fucking hell, this is it. Like, I'm not going to be able to do anything again all summer. And my mum just walked away and went, she was mental. It's literally just like, she was just crying. Her eyes were just streaming. She was like, yeah, I don't think she's equipped to be a teacher. I was like, yeah, probably not.
I got lucky with parents' evening with me. In year 7 in senior school, Dad went to the first parents' evening, and pretty much with every teacher, he sat there and went, who are you talking about? And they'd be like, well, Dean, your son. And he was like, well, it's completely different from the written report that I got back. And my dad got up halfway through and was like, this is a load of bollocks. This is bullshit. Never went to another one. So I could just do what I want. And all the teachers used to be like, wait till I speak to your dad at parents' evening. Like, you'll be waiting a long fucking time because he won't be there. Oh, man, I'd like fucking the Willy Wonka golden ticket out of all of my mates. They were like, your dad actually hates going. I was like, yeah, he hates it. Never go.
We went on a school trip, and we all bought laser pens in Paris. Do you remember with used to be able to screw Kappa logos on them and stuff like that. Yeah. And I remember we were driving a bus to Disneyland, and I shot it in the driver's face, and then my teacher, Mrs. Gilpin, took it off me, and then I had to have my dad to come and collect me from school. And in front of her, she handed it to my dad, and my dad just passed it to me. Like a proper lesson, just make sure he never uses it again and give it to me. And then my dad just went and just passed it.
Didn't know what to do with
it. Oh, good times. Good times.
Man.
Before we start.
My chat, Aidan mentioned, make sure you ask the aliens if they like Domino's, the pizza company. I'm not too sure what aliens would like, what pizza aliens would really like. And I don't think it'd be the cuisine that I'd introduce them to.
Not Fat Domino's, the 1940s jazz singer. Was he a jazz singer or from the 1940s?
I'm not too sure.
Obscure reference of the week.
Not the game Domino's.
Not the game Domino's. You're with Fats Domino, potentially a jazz singer from the past. And on that note, it's good to have you back, JJ. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to have to take a year off. Oh, I'm going to take a year off. We did 3 without him, 2 without him. I can't bear it any longer. They're talking shit.
Feels like the first time I've left the house. Pretty much is. But I'm still in the house. So.
Yeah. No, you're streaming globally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, before we start as well, I was meaning to show you boys something. In I guess it's part we are recording now anyway.
Yeah, so we can cut it out if it's boring.
So yeah, it ain't gonna be boring. It's kind of on topic.
Is it your massive new PC?
With the fact that we know this episode is primarily going to be,
it's a tube. It's got a brown tube.
I know what this is going to be. I know what this is going to be.
Really?
I 100% know what it's going to be.
Okay, what do you think it's going to be?
What do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be one of Bob Lazar's shit drawings.
What drawings?
Shit drawings. That he's charging $400 for.
Oh yeah, Dean's got some disposable income all of a sudden. He's buying shit drawings on the internet. It is, isn't it?
Oh no, it's not.
It is. And look, he signed it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dean. To Dean, best wishes, Bobby L.
So
Bob Laser.
Bobby L.
I've seen these ones that he's doing.
But JJ is right.
Wow, did my daughter could have drawn a better fucking alien ship than that. JJ's daughter could have drawn a better one than that.
Oh, what a great start.
Brilliant. Oh, Bobby.
So for the listeners, that aren't viewing, obviously I've been and bought because I've got some disposable income.
That is disposable. That is disposable income for someone who hasn't got children.
It is, isn't it? Half the responsibilities that normal people have.
Yeah, I like it. At least you're wasting your money. That's what I say.
Right.
At least you're wasting
But for a good cause. It was a pretty good bit. It was a pretty good bit.
It was worth it. That'll be worth the £15 in ad revenue we get from this episode in 6 months' time.
What happens when it comes to it in the thing.
Oh, maybe they did. So in the back, there isn't
A light brown jacket.
cool story.
We're not the first. We definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you. Not another conspiracy cast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Not Another Conspiracy Podcast with the man in the... I don't know if he's in the middle for everyone, but...
He's in the middle for me.
After a hiatus of... He's probably done 14 months off. He's had a hiatus of 14 months from the podcast, even though we've only done 2 episodes in that time.
I know, when you said £15 worth of that revenue, I was like, that is optimistic.
Yeah. JJ, the man, the father, a father.
The
Become
father.
a father. The
Yeah.
father.
Can you
I'm
fucking
Peter
believe it?
McAllister, the father.
The father.
And in Detroit, Michigan, with a brand new hand-drawn alien spaceship by Bobby L himself.
Bobby L.
It look if you put it in its side, mate, it looks
It's the gimbal.
like
It's
some
the
kind of
gimbal.
robot. If you put it in its side, it looks like a robot vagina.
A robot vagina.
It looks like a festival VIP
What's this?
bar.
What is this orb like? He's drawn a thing around it.
It's
like,
the aura of the gravitational fields
Oh,
that are
fuck
projected
off, Bob.
from it.
right. Right.
It's
Fuck
a
off.
heart. He said he loved me. It's what
It
he's
is a
trying to
heart.
say.
It looks like.
Can
That's
I just
a fart.
ask, is that the back of the poster?
No,
You know,
no.
Oh, you've got
because
you've
I was
got
like,
two items.
that is the worst design ever. Here's a picture I've drawn on the back of a poster that looks good.
Yeah, at least you can put the poster up and like it's on the back is a drawing by Bob.
Yeah. Put it on one side of your fish tank.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I need a fish tank now. I've got a fish tank. No, I haven't. But I need one now.
That is a disposable income.
That's it. I need fish. Hold on. I need to put some fish in the bottom.
I reckon-
there.
I was just about to say,
No.
put him in the Michael Myers.
Fill the whole thing up with water and then put fish in that.
That's actually a pretty dope idea.
Stupid idea.
Yeah.
Do it.
Well, I
You
just
might
thought,
need a
Rachel
bit
will
of
come around and go,
silicon.
why is there water everywhere? Well, I tried to make a fish tank out of a
whose
IKEA
fish
book.
are these?
IKEA shelf.
Forgot to seal the edges.
Okay.
And Mr. Ben Mills.
And all the way in Southend on Seath. The man, the myth, the legend, Ben
the
Mills.
longest pleasure pier in the world.
And
Yeah, there's
the
that, isn't it?
UFO group.
Oh yes.
And the Southend
So-
on Sea UFO group.
Like a lot of people in the Discord will know about this, but on Friday night, so 2 nights ago, I went to the Essex UFO and Paranormal Meetup, and it did not disappoint.
It didn't.
It did not disappoint, and I mean, hopefully, some of the guys from the Essex UFO and Paranormal Facebook group have joined us and are listening to the podcast now.
Oh yes, because you put it on there, didn't you? In
I
the
did.
group.
I shared it with them, and I think that was so it kind of made sure that I didn't say anything too mean about people. That was the guy that was talking.
So was it a bit of a hard take?
It was well, the same with any. That was him. That were him. That was Kevin. The same with any kind of UFO thing is that the guy who was talking had a lot of information in his head, and I think the getting that from out of here was quite difficult, and it was great for an audience member, but yeah, I think like he struggled, and I think he might have been under pressure. I think he might have been out of his depth.
Was it the first meeting?
No, they've been doing meetings for a very long time.
So was this
It
guy
was
a
my
special
first meeting.
guest, or
He was, but I think he's just a guy. He's got, well, he said, I don't know if you listened to the clips I sent you. He said he studied quantum physics at PhD, which I don't believe. He
PhD?
also was in the TAs. And
Territorial Army?
Yeah. And
It's
I
like
said,
Dad's Army, but for like, isn't that
it is Dad's
Army,
Army.
basically?
Yeah, it is Dad's Army.
Okay.
It's
got flat feet then.
Quite loudly, but I thought it was under my breath. I went, "Oh, longest way up, quickest way down." But I was with Baz and Will, and Will was staring daggers through me as I was.
Is this Kingston?
Yeah, and I kept putting my hand up, and every time I put my hand up, he went, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Why did he put his hand up? And I kept, why are you putting your hand up? What are you going to say? It was so good. Dean, next time in the UK, you've got to line up.
Hand up.
I put my hand up and I went,
Sir.
I went, the supposed crash. I was like,
That was it. They're all like, we don't use that word here. We're only truth speakers.
well, by the end of it, because I said, oh, well, there's no way you could, a craft the size of 4 football pitches could crash in Cardiff and no one notice it.
Oh yeah, I've heard that story before.
The Pentrick UFO or whatever, but it's known as the Welsh Roswell.
The
and
Welsh
if by that
Roswell.
they mean they mean it also didn't happen, then
That
No,
was
I'm
the
sure
sound
Roswell
of
happened.
the entire UFO group clearly would make with such a comment.
He said something, and it was about. He said something. He goes, it was about the Nazis. I don't know what he was talking about. And he went, certain people, and everyone in the group just went, Nazis, like almost everyone looked at each other and went, you can say Nazis.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Almost everyone went, Nazis, back at him. He went, yeah, those guys. And then he went, oh, what's that lion? That lion in Egypt. And everyone just at the same time went, Sphinx. And at that point, he'd lost the crowd completely.
To me, he just sounded like I said, Paul Whitehouse impersonating a conspiracy theory character in a fast show sketch. It was just too on the nose for me.
I think what it was is someone it just believes everything.
Of course, yeah.
Me,
JJ,
yeah. And Dean to a certain extent as well. but it was like when he goes, well, I saw a woman in China, right? She got off this bus. She was really old, and a man was coming towards her, right? And he was going to rob her, and out of nowhere, she lifted him 10 foot in the air, smashed him into a Greyhound bus. And then he goes, and then she ran off screaming. I was like, well, that didn't happen. Firstly, you said you saw it happen, right? Well, you didn't see it happen.
A few questions. Why was he in China?
Exactly.
What? Yeah.
Probably part of his TA when he was in the TAs, maybe.
Did China have a Greyhound network of buses?
They don't know.
No.
He said it like a Greyhound bus.
Ah, right. Okay, so just a bus.
A bus.
So it's like, and
my favourite is when he goes, and then she ran away screaming.
My concern is well, what were you doing in this position to witness such an event? But you be that person to witness such an event.
Yeah.
Why did you just happen to be there?
He didn't say, I saw a video. He said, I saw this woman, hundreds of people around him. It was kind of like Trump with the way he was just embellishing everything.
Right, yeah.
But I just felt, I was just like, mate, just stop talking. No one believes that you saw a woman lift a man, an old woman lift a potential attackee. Up 10 feet in the air and then smash him into a bus, then run away screaming. You're just saying, he goes, because people have got abilities, and that's because he was talking about Stephen Greer, and he goes, well, because we've all got abilities we don't know about. And then he goes, like this one time in China, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, why?
So is he implying that the woman didn't know she had the ability? And
she didn't know. It just came out of nowhere. These powers, she unleashed the powers in her moment of need. The powers came to her.
It's like he watched the new Mortal Kombat movie where it alluded to everybody having a special ability that you'd have to kill someone with the combat mark on them.
Maybe he'd started halfway through the film and he thought it was a documentary.
Right. My God.
terrible documentary.
And that's the problem with don't worry, listeners, we're going to get to
This is all part of what we're going to talk about, though, right?
Yeah. Because no matter, especially considering how front and center everything is becoming with the UFO and UAP phenomena at the moment, it's obviously there's going to be people capitalizing on things like this.
And before we go any further, I massive respect to the guy who got up and chatted about like aliens with no slides apart from like he got up a website to show us some pictures once. They were shit pictures, but he did this was all off the top of his head, and fair play to him. I'll just say
because
fair play,
let's give it
very
that.
brave.
I don't think I'd be able
he did
to
a
do
good
that.
job. I didn't believe hardly anything he said.
Right,
but
was there anything you did believe?
That his name was Kevin.
Well, there's his anonymity gone.
Yeah.
Kevin!
No, well, I like I've been saying in our chats for the last week, I'm struggling to believe anything when it comes to aliens anymore.
I'm definitely interested to see why. Because it feels like it's come out of nowhere. But here we go. Go
on. Right, you like.
Well, I'm so curious to know how after this congressional meeting you're suddenly.
Well, that's why because it's like, man, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna have to go for a piss.
He's got to go gather his thoughts.
He got that worked up. His pipe works would just backfire. Nope. I'm gonna drip in a minute, mate.
I mean, obviously straight away Ben's thing of him talking about because it's now being disclosed. But it's very similar to the memes that are going around at the moment. If you've seen them, like it's a conspiracy person says, I believe in UFOs, and government say UFOs aren't real. And then the next slide is government says UFOs aren't real, and then conspiracy theorists say,
don't believe them.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. I do get it. I mean, I've spoke about it in our group. I do have one, I think, pretty solid argument for why it couldn't be.
Right,
but I'll talk about that when we find out Ben Mills' angle.
Of course, and I guess it's something we can discuss while we're waiting for Ben to come back. Oh, he's back. This will obviously be something that I can mention when we really get going. But so today's topic is obviously going to be more or less a debate, but a conversation with regards to what is now the fallout of the UAP phenomena, why particularly Ben is now kind of, well, I want to hear it from him, not interested and is feeling it's probably too good to be true.
The question I've written in our little notes is why now? That's the big
question.
That is the question. Why now?
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden have they gone, now's the time that they're going to let all this start slipping out? Like, it started like 5-6 years ago with Fravor and like Jeremy Corbell and all that kind of like getting more information. Maybe 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
around that, yeah.
It was 2017 was the the Telegraph
5-6 years ago.
Post.
And all I think is Bluebeam, baby.
Yeah,
that's all I can think of. Project Bluebeam, and for those who don't know, it's basically a government. The plan was for the government to stage an alien invasion to unite the world into the new world order.
And it's a pretty outlandish, like. So right, okay. So you believe Bluebeam is being enacted?
I'm fully blue-beamed up, mate.
Oh man,
blue beam me up, Scotty.
I did not expect this.
Yes,
I genuinely thought you were just like, nah, it's just no, not believing any of it.
I think this.
Man, I'm just happy you're still nuts like the rest of us.
Did you think I've gone completely straight and just
I thought you went complete Mick West on us.
No, I purely think this is maybe not full blue beam.
Okay,
but I think that they're covering something up, just like Roswell. Right, so the theory is that Roswell was a psyop to distract from the Cold War, right?
Right, okay.
So they were getting people like into like this aliens thing to distract from something that was about to happen with the Cold War, right? And I think this is the same thing with Ukraine.
It's very interesting.
Just
Because of with Russia and Ukraine, because of what somewhat being a kind of a mild Cold War.
America wants to get more involved, right? And they want to do it secretly. So let's distract why all this stuff, all these like maneuvers they're making into the Ukraine and into Russia, which they're doing, and selling arms and giving shit and that, where they're not allowed to, right? They're not allowed to get involved.
Okay.
They're getting involved and they're going, right, let's fill the news with fucking aliens and like
but we know
Ian Watkins and shit. And
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh dear, what a pity. Never mind.
Oh
News
no,
of that.
he got stabbed. Oh no.
Whoops. But we know that America have been funding the war. So I think
they're doing even more now. Something's
going
on.
But what? I don't know. Just giving them.
Well, why don't we, for the people who don't know, go through the Congress hearing a little bit more, so people aren't just like, what the fuck are they talking about? Some people might not even.
Yeah, well, now you know why I don't believe it, but I think let's go through it, and then what I'll do is I'll go, don't believe it every time.
So we had obviously the UFO and UAP congressional meeting. We're not going to go over every aspect of it, but there are key points. That are the main talking points which we sort of siphoned off of Reddit and into a little list and whatnot of a lot of the standout things. Now that was with Commander David Fravor, Ryan Graves, along with David Grush as well. The notes are a little mix and match. Sorry, go on, Ben.
Did any of you watch it?
Yes,
live?
I watched it.
I watched it all.
I didn't watch it live, but I did watch it. And
I didn't watch it live. I watched it about an hour after it was on because.
I was working and I watched it and then I fell asleep. It was great. I fell asleep.
He's going all Mick West. You fell asleep because you were tired, mate.
I fell asleep because I was tired. Yeah, I didn't get put to sleep because it was boring. I fell asleep.
Oh, right.
I mean, every person I told to watch it was just like, I fell asleep. It was so boring. It wasn't
very exciting, but it was interesting.
I mean, I even watched the first half an hour of watching the congressman walk in.
They were so good, weren't they?
What I think we need to address as well is a lot of people have assumed that, from the UFO community, they would have assumed that initially we were going to be getting completely different witnesses because Tim Burchett said they had like, can't remember the exact wording that he used, but like some rock stars that were going to be coming into the hearing and stuff. And essentially people were like, well, is he referring to Graves, Grush and Fravor? Because
members of the Misfits.
We've already heard them for the last 4 years. Grush not particularly. And the one interest was, everyone wanted Grush to be there because they wanted a few more details under oath that would be needed to be divulged to the senators and stuff. But with Graves and Fravor, initially I was like, kind of don't want to. I feel like this is almost a loss, like even before it started. But a lot of people pointed me in the right direction by saying like they're not. This isn't for the UFO UAP community or UAP Twitter or whatever. It isn't like let's get these guys in for the ones that we all know very well. These three were selected purely because of the fact that because they were the beginning of all of this, essentially, or they are the beginning of all of this. And it's to bring Congress up to speed with what we all know, along with the general public. And when that was put across to me, I was like, yeah, okay, I can kind of get that now, because you want to be able to bring everyone up to speed with what's been happening since 2017, I think. The Washington Post article came out that spoke about the Tic Tac, Go Fast and the gimbal videos. So to bring everybody up to speed in such a short amount of time, I think was really, really good idea in having the three of those, and the fact that all of them were fantastic, in my opinion. Graves particularly, I was like, I've heard his story. It's obviously not as juicy as what Fravor's and Grush's has been. But when he started like detailing more information of when he was saying they would do safety protocols for their missions, they would be including UAP incidents because they were happening so frequently after they upgraded their FLIR devices and their radar hardware and software, that they were seeing these things on the daily, and that they were then putting them into their mission briefings, and like saying, if you do come into contact with one of these, cancel everything, come back, and we'll start again or whatever. I thought that was very interesting when they were then alluding towards Congress to sit there and say, we've got nowhere to report these things. They're not being these near misses, which is a paradoxical term anyway. We're not being given the opportunity to do anything about this. And I thought that was really interesting and a good example to bring up to everybody in Congress in saying, so you're having you're having close to like air training collisions, and no one's doing anything about it, and we've not even been told about it. Like, yeah, this is pretty bad.
Another interesting person to bring up, which they don't bring up in the Congress meeting at all, a guy called Paul Hellyer.
What? Hellyer?
Hellyer. Yeah.
No,
Hellyer.
Come with it.
No, a guy called Paul Hellyer who brought up the government cover-up years ago. And I think, without getting too ahead of myself, one of the main problems that all three were saying was that one of the main reasons they're bringing it up now is because of a concern of Homeland Security. So Paul Hellyer brought it up, I think, in the early 90s, was saying that there is something out there that is a threat to security that is far beyond our
capabilities,
our understanding of like physics and like human manned aircraft. And basically, where I'm going with this is that all these people want to come forward and talk about the things that they've experienced, but are worried about the ridicule that they'll get from their like elders or anything like that are just basically making their lives unsafe. It's almost like the airspace HR, like they just want to be like, I've had an encounter with something that I don't know what it is, and everyone's going, yeah, shut up about that. That's the thing that kind of like, for me, I'm just like, well, yeah, this is serious, because if David Fravor, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. His statement, his testimony is like insane, because he's just so like,
brilliant.
I just don't know what it is, and it's way beyond what we are. And I think that's the thing that's, is the worrying aspect of it. But yeah, check that guy out, Paul Hellyer. He's the stuff that he said years ago was very profound.
Apparent.
Yeah, it's basically exactly the same as the testimony that the other three said, but at the time he basically just got shunned as being a nutcase.
Yeah,
well, that's been the main reason for people to step up or to come forward or not come forward for alien interaction forever, right? It's whether it start with Betty and Barney Hill, and that you just get your life's over, right? No matter what. No one makes money from aliens, like being
apart from Bob Lazar
and Corbell.
$400.
And Bob Lazar even claims that he's never made any money from it, but then he's selling fucking posters for $100, $300, whatever Dean wasted his money on. I could have bought a fish tank.
Mate.
I could have drawn that for you. In fact, I could have drawn it much better and cheaper. I'll draw you one. It's fine. I'll send you one a post.
Thank you.
Basically, a disc with 4 motorbike batteries in the bottom.
Yeah. That's it. And that's the flight. That's the. I reckon Bob Lazar actually just hallucinated the whole thing.
Is it like that thing where they put batteries on the end of a fork?
Yeah.
And then. Yeah.
So, I kind of lost track where I was, but keeping on track with what you were saying with regards to David Fravor, I think along with Ryan Graves as well, his statements with what he came out were, with the both of them in general, I liked the fact that they only included the for want of a better word, the paranormal or extraterrestrial side of the story, kind of very brief, but just pushed towards the fact of that we're coming close. People are coming close to like dying out there, like crashing their shit, and it's interfering with us practicing how to defend this country. And they demanded to go under oath, meaning why would they instinctively put themselves in the firing line for prison, where all they're doing is saying, sorry, but just some random weird shit's going on. along with the fact that we can't defend ourselves properly, or we can't even practice defending this country properly. So if you're willing to sling me in prison for bringing this up, then the country's fucked.
I
So
reckon it's China.
China.
It's a big sacrifice.
That's what I'm saying. Whenever I've had debates so far publicly, and people asking, well, I don't believe this, don't believe that. Or they'll say this and say that. Why are they traveling from different planets and crashing in our atmosphere? Like, I don't even. The fact that you get that question just tells me you haven't taken a single moment to listen to anything that's been discussed. Because
no one's saying they're from another planet now.
Yeah,
nobody is.
That's the good thing that discussion brought out I think that was to their credit, was that they're almost, unlike scientists, willing to change their ideas. Mm-hmm. They're saying, we would rather say that we don't know where they come from, because then we're not saying little green men, in the aspect that they've come from somewhere miles away, but we just don't know what it is or where they've come from. That was one of the only things the middle guy, I can't remember what he was called, Grush.
David Fravor.
No, the middle guy, the one who's in the middle.
Grush, sorry, yeah, David Grush.
That was one of the only things that he said that I was like, that has some real clout, because he was just like, I want to reframe what I've said here, reframe it. I want to say, we'd rather say we don't know where they come from, because it's like trying to understand like bacteria when you don't know what bacteria is. He was like,
right, exactly.
It's like, we didn't know what bacteria was 100 years ago or 200 years ago, but now we know what it is. We can now explain all the other things around bacteria, whereas all we're talking about now is that these things might be from miles away, and all we're talking about is, how did they get here? What's the science that got them here? Whereas they might just be from somewhere here, or which I thought was great. Like, that opens the door, and we know that science a lot more than we do interplanetary. I would say we know that science more than interplanetary travel.
I agree.
I mean, we know more about dimensions than we do. Extra galactic, intergalactic, whatever.
Yeah, and there's like theoretical science around opening up a wormhole to another part. Yeah, and the fact that particles can kind of reflect what they're talking, what each particle's doing, millions of light years apart. They can be the same particle, and that's how you create a wormhole.
Yeah.
In quantum theory, apparently.
So, seeing as we're now discussing elements of the congressional hearing, let's go through the list of the key points that stood out to us. We've been over a few, so we'll kind of gloss over them, but I'll go through the list anyway. Graves discussed that in 2014, how upgrades to radar systems resulted in daily detections of unknown objects in their airspace. Assuming radar errors, they correlated, assuming that they were radar errors, they correlated the data with onboard sensors, including infrared systems, along with the FLIR data, and eventually visual ID with regards to David Fravor's contact experience. We discussed this, so then because of those incidences, they were putting these things into their safety briefings, like saying to pilots, oh yeah, if you see one of them things that's been reported, and one of them being reported was that two F-18 Super Hornets were split after a dark grey-black cube with a clear sphere inside came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft, estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. A safety report was submitted. However, there was no safety report or acknowledgement of the incident, and no further mechanisms to report the sightings. So again,
these aliens are it's this cube with a sphere inside it, right?
Yes.
Which is like, that's mental.
Bananas.
Just thought of that.
I'd love to see.
That's the one I want to see. If I get to see one, or that's the one I want to see, because that's the one that doesn't make any sense.
Just a quick point. I'm not going to go into it too much, but we've discussed it in the past. The Judaism description of how I can't remember what it was. One of their gods came to this planet in something called a Macabre, which is that you'll have seen. It's like a triangle inside a triangle, but they describe it as a 4-dimensional thing. So it's like 2 pyramids inside a pyramid. Which, if you spin a cube round fast enough, it looks like that. So they've done. It looks like a cube, but in the Macabre there's a circle as well. So if you actually look at that, what he's describing sounds Like, to me, that's, you know, when you turn a square and you spin it on a side, if you slowed it down, it would be like two triangles, like two, because it goes like that and then like that, back and forth, and then the circle around it. So, I mean, for me, it's straight away, like, obviously with like the sacred geometry element of it, that sounds like what that looks, you know what I mean?
And you've brought that up several times in the past with the sacred geometry.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, really. It makes sense. And I'm pretty sure, after you mentioning that, wasn't it rumored that Leonardo da Vinci had allegedly patented something that resembled a UFO, but it used something to do with the symmetry
he used
that
pedals.
You just mentioned. Pedals? Sorry? Pedals.
Well,
a pedal copter.
Didn't Dick Dastardly use that in the
honestly, imagine if that is the UFO. They just can pedal really fast. The gimbal is just a little
based on Da Vinci's pedal copter.
Long-legged alien, just like...
It's just an alien with quads like this. Okay.
And David Framer's like, it's beyond our technical understanding, and it's just a little green man pedaling really fast.
Just loves his spin classes.
Probably love the sound.
Never had them before.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oreos dipped in dairy milk.
Jesus. Dipped in dairy milk.
So they do those deep fried as well. You can have them deep fried.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course they can. Of course they can.
So in America, you don't have good chocolate, do you, Dave?
No, it contains a chemical that is used to change the taste, but the chemical has product inside it that is found in vomit. That's why it tastes like vomit. And
I was just about to say, that's what Hershey's tastes like sick.
Yep, and because the chemical that they use is found in the gut. And why
don't they just make chocolate like we make chocolate? Which is,
I don't know, but their chocolate here is fucking foul, dude. It's awful.
Well, let me know if you want me to send you some.
Bad.
If you want me to send you some, let me know.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Some Galaxy.
Best
chocolate
so
Galaxy.
Hershey's over here tastes good. In America, it just tastes like sick.
They're fucking.
It tastes
they've
terrible.
just put so. I was watching. I know this is off topic, but I was. Someone had posted like comparable products in the UK and in America, like Cheetos and Whatsits or whatever, like something like that. And they're like, so that the amount of ingredients that are in like Cheetos compared to what are in Whatsits
nuts.
is just insane.
Yeah,
and they're sort of saying
bananas.
Whatsits are healthy here. It's just that they're way less unhealthy.
Dude, there's sugar in bread over here. Yeah, there's sugar in bread.
Emma's just messaged me from the other room, and she heard me say that Hershey's tastes like sick. And she says, "You take that back." Okay, I'll let you off. It just tastes bad in America.
Oh, bless her.
Tell her to shut up and start looking after that baby. Stop listening in. Look after the baby.
Fucking hell. That's funny. Right.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I'll try not to touch that again.
Let me get back down.
We're going to get back into this aliens. Back to aliens.
So, okay, next
aliens.
on the list of what we've had talking about the IRAD abuse and the self-funding and stuff like that. Also, might I add, friend of the podcast and fellow podcaster as well, Dustin, also a Patreon. He sent me a link of the best theory that I've already sent to JJ and Ben, but we're going to read it out.
I didn't read it because I was excited about
good
today.
Then. That's good because I'll read it out on here because it's the best theory so far that really breaks down how this all began and why it is where it is at the moment. Anyway, moving on with the list, the next one being Grush had spent 11 hours with both Intel committees, which just speaks for itself. It was just a little bit of information that he mentioned in the congressional meeting that he hadn't mentioned in the past in the News Nation interview. He also provided names and locations to the Inspector General, which is a big deal. So he didn't necessarily make that announcement for the first time, particularly in the congressional meeting, but the fact that when he went to the Inspector General before he could get to the congressional hearing, he had to provide all evidence of his claims, to which he did, providing all the names of the ones that he said that were willing to talk, which was really interesting, how he said that he's got a list of people that are willing to talk, ones that are hostile, and still, like, he's still pulling rank on that, which I think is really brave of him. Like, there are people out there that have threatened me, that most likely were the ones that threatened him for his life, but him actually sitting there saying, yeah, I got a list of ones that are hostile, and also a list of the places that these or the locations of that these things are being held at.
Yeah.
To which I don't know, I can't remember quite the sentence or what it was referring to, but he did bring Bowen up in the talk of these locations, or at least aerospace contractors that have been involved.
And just while you're on that, just as a pinpoint for people, the Sean Ryan podcast, he interviews 3 ex-military contractors, or ex-military and ex-military contractors, who also mention hostile witnesses. But yeah, just to put that in there for anyone who hasn't
it's
seen
worth
that.
listening to, because there's that one guy where his dad just stopped talking to him after, like, that's crazy. And then
and
did he go to like a bar in like the middle of nowhere, and the guy was like, "I've been watching you."
Yeah.
And
how's your wife and kids? That's what he says to him.
Yeah, that's intense.
He was like, "How's your baby?" And everyone, he was like, "How do you know that I have a baby?" And he was like, basically just like, "Yeah, but how are they?" And just like, "Cool."
Yeah, just to let you know, I know shit that you don't think I do know. That's another talking point alone for another episode, I feel like, as well, because those 2 witnesses also had background checks with Congress. However, they weren't the ones that were asked to speak. They instead spoke on Stephen Greer. I know he gets a bad name, but Stephen Greer's
that
disclosure
guy's a fucking
project.
Loser. Fuck Stephen Greer. Fuck that guy so far, and that guy's fucking ass, man. Fuck him. If he said, right, as soon as someone says Stephen Greer, I'm like, I'm out.
So
okay, let's forget about Stephen Greer.
Out.
Yeah, let's forget about Stephen Greer. But at least you believed, or at least you listened to
I believe those 3 blokes on thing. I believe
and
Grush.
It was thanks to Greer, though. Either or, whatever you think of him.
Stephen Greer, and he said,
no, I'm not even defending the guy. What I'm saying is, thanks to Stephen Greer, he was able to give those 2 a platform, regardless of his background. Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Okay. Yes. I've
US
calmed down now.
Yeah, he's had his Diet Coke. Look, have a Snickers. The US government contractors have craft of new and non-human biologics, which was what you mentioned, how he didn't allude to extraterrestrial, or didn't say that he wanted to say alien, but instead was like,
which also doesn't necessarily mean it's a body. It can be like, because there's mention of fabrics that he talks about. There's like fabrics that we don't have, and from materials that exist, but we don't have them in our periodic scale.
Yeah, that could also connect to the fact that sometimes they would say that these crafts seemed themselves alive. And that can be biological to some degree.
Well, that goes back to Roswell, though, doesn't it? Because apparently, and allegedly, the main thing that the guy took away from Roswell, like the guy found the ship, was that he found something that was like tinfoil, but you screw it up and it went straight back
to its original shape. Yeah.
And the guy, and this goes back to Friday night, the guy, I don't know if you heard it, he claims that memory foam mattresses are an reversed alien tech.
What, just because they've been able to densify a sponge that can move in shape, but also
fiber
go
optics.
back
He goes, fiber optics. No proof of how they made that. It's like, it's like 30, 40 years of...
That's how I used to transfer music onto my mini disc.
Yeah, fiber optic cable, me too. Yeah.
I had a mini disc.
Reversed alien technology, that.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one, which is another interesting talking point that I always tend to use when trying to defend this subject. Grush had also claimed that US government and contractors have intimidated, hurt, and potentially murdered would-be whistleblowers. That was nuts hearing that in the congressional hearing, in the way that he put it across as well, because then he went further into his case of being intimidated and that he had his life, him and his wife had their lives threatened. This will also help with when we go to read the best theory behind why he would have been intimidated and such.
It is a surprise that he hasn't been suicided already.
Just one thing I want to point out, though, about David Grush. He gets asked, have you yourself witnessed any of this? And he says, no. He says, but in so many words, he almost wants to be like, yes, I witnessed it all. But they ask him, and he looks terrified and says, no.
If you noticed as well, his lawyer was sat behind him, and every now and again, you could see him giving him signals as if to sit there and say, like, be careful what you say here. Yeah. Like, just keeping him in his parameters, because he's still got NDAs, a lot of NDAs, and all the information contained in the interviews of the 40 employees that he investigated while he was investigating for fraud, he can't discuss practically 99% of any of that. So the way Grush put himself across, the way he answered his questions, and even the way he told them every single piece of detail, I thought was not too little and not too much, but enough for the public to sit there and raise an eyebrow and be like, yeah, hold on a minute. We should be concerned about the fact that they're not doing anything to like defend our skies. What? I want to listen to this guy a little bit more. And also getting to the congressional people themselves, asking yes-no information with their questions, because there wasn't really too much to ask. I think it was them trying to ask every aspect of a subject instead of just whatever they wanted to, because you had congressmen sitting there saying just yes, no answers. Have people been murdered?
The thing that concerns me about the deliverance of what he said, though, is almost like the equivalent of when you've got a new song to play in a band. You don't play all your good songs first because then everyone leaves.
Yeah.
You know, that's
of course. So he didn't divulge everything on News Nation, left it for the congressional hearing.
Because the longer you do that, the longer you're in the limelight, and then the longer you become like Bob Lazar. So like Bob Lazar was like, who's he? And then as soon as you could tell Jeremy Corbell was like his hype man. Just like, don't say too much because we've got a documentary coming out soon on Netflix. You know what I mean? Like,
you notice Corbell sitting behind Grush as well.
And
George
Sean Ryan.
And George Knapp.
Sean Ryan was behind.
He was
behind Graves.
I thought I recognised. I was like, but I've never heard Sean Ryan rub shoulders with them. Like, so I wasn't sure.
So much for Corbell to not try and get up there and start talking. Like, just whoa! I've got something to say. Fuck off, Corbell.
But he himself and George Knapp, they put information forward to Congress to use, didn't they? But it was refused. I don't know for what reason. Probably because they were like, it's ain't about you. Yeah, it's not about you guys anymore.
Probably because it was a shitty picture of the internet. That is light reflecting off a piece of silver that is fallen from the sky.
Individuals in charge of classification or brackets access to information are career senior executive officials in both military, Department of Defense, and defense contractors / unelected officials. So more about the fact of that these people that are being put in charge of these things, it's just like a ball of yarn at this point trying to fight. So you're in charge of him, but you don't answer to him. So who's in charge of him if he's not in charge of you? Like a lot of, I guess, like covering footsteps within certain departments.
Yeah, and a lot of these people that are in charge of where the money goes for these operations and who does what, they're also given very strict. Well, they're offered like post-service contracts, aren't they? Early on in their careers.
Yeah,
When you finish your job here, as long as you play your hand correctly whilst you're in the military. When you leave the military, you're going to get a very nice, high-paid job in our company. So just do what you need to do here. So, like, that's why it's so convoluted and you can't get around people, because people are just, like, employing people to take, like, compartmentalizing everything. So they can't answer questions because no one knows anything apart from, like, maybe 4 or 5 people. That's what I reckon.
That would be the best way to keep control of things, though, wouldn't it? Because the ones who are coming back, like Vietnam veterans, are almost ridiculed. The Sean Ryan guys almost seem like they could just be PTSD kind of vibe, and they're just like, oh, I don't really know how to believe it. Whereas in the ones that were still career, military, people should respect what they're saying. But then you've got your military guys going, well, if you are a career military guy, you shouldn't be saying any of this stuff because you're still under NDAs, and things like that. Which is where I'm like, ugh, is it worth going to prison for? And obviously, if he's got these securities where you won't go to prison, because that's why he kept saying, "Oh, I can talk about it, but behind closed doors and stuff like that." But it's very similar to what Tom DeLonge did on Joe Rogan. He's like, I've got all this stuff, but I can't talk about it. But then when it came out, no one apologized to Tom DeLonge, and it's laughable saying that, but.
Yeah, all he had to do was wait a week with that podcast because it was several weeks later that the Washington Post article come out.
But then the problem with that is exactly where I was going with the ban thing. It's like if you sell it too soon, like you're not going to sell the TV show, you're not going to sell the movie, you're not going to sell your company that you've just opened up to shares again. It's kind of like shares that you can only sell once a year. By the way, just FYI. If you ever
anything like that's a tough one because again, it's like going back to as soon as you monetize something, it loses a little bit of credibility as well. As soon as you because the amount of money they've made off To the Stars instantly goes like, well, it's just a money making scheme. You made loads of money, then maybe people are going to start questioning it that way.
But I feel like people only pay attention when it's monetized because it seems like all of us lot who are like, oh, we really want to know, but the government are never going to care until there's some way that they can make money out of it. Like it doesn't seem like genuine when there's people there who are just doing it off their own back. It always just feels like someone wants to make money somewhere, and which to some extent they probably should. Like if they've spent 20, 30 years in the military being ridiculed by all their pals, it's like maybe I should make a couple of
coming
bucks
round,
out of
are
this.
you boys? Coming round, are you? Someone that's been ridiculed for 30 years making a bit of money, eh? Do you want to look at my Bob Lazar poster?
Yeah, but now you're going to get ridiculed for spending it.
All right.
How much did you pay for it? Before we go, how much did you pay for that?
In both total, for both of them, $130, I think it was.
All in?
Yeah, all in.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Yeah. Oh, no, it weren't.
Was it hand delivered by a UFO?
Yes, an Amazon delivery drone.
Bob drove it round on his bike.
It's funny because he lives in Michigan.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
Oh my God. Just while we're on the subject of Bob Lazar, did anyone see the Instagram post of him arm wrestling GSP?
I didn't have that on my bingo card. I remember seeing that because I recognised him before I recognised Bob.
Yeah, George St. Pierre's just arm wrestling him over the device that apparently can project aliens into the sky.
I was like, okay, let's see one of the UFOs, UFC's great. What? Is that Bob? What are you doing? You had a few whiskeys. What's going on here?
Who won?
I don't know.
George St. Pierre, didn't he? Yeah, in the end he did, but he was playing with him. Okay, interesting one. Moving away from Grush, Graves, and Fravor, and I think this is where Ben can really start talking about his not believing this or anything. So, Gates, Matt Gates, who's a Republican senator, congressman, whatnot, whichever title, apparently has quite some, I don't know, outlandish beliefs. He's I believe he's right wing, regardless of his politics, though. He was saying that he's willing to subpoena. He was willing to subpoena over an image and radar data of a UFO or a UAP orb that was captured or at least identified from Eglin Air Force Base. So he was saying in the congressional hearing that he initially had gone to Eglin Air Force Base, and because he worked previous in this field. Within defense, that he went to, so he was aware. He used to work with radar data, satellite imagery for defense type contracts or whatever he was up to in these previous posts. So he turned up at the base. Apparently, was initially denied seeing this radar data, and imagery of this orb UAP. To which then he said in the meeting that I told them who's in charge of doing what in this country and what powers congressional people have, to which they showed him the data, the satellite imagery of what he believed was supposed to be part of a crash retrieval and a shoot down. And he said he had saw an image of a UAP that he said he could not, or a craft of high quality detail that he could not identify as being anything on this earth or anything that was human aircraft based, which was quite wild to hear as well. Ben,
was this the one where the satellite imagery almost looked like it had been doctored? Because there was a
that
mention...
one that was shared in our chat was fake. People worked out that was a video. The ship from the video game.
So there was talk in the Congress hearing of that they had satellite imagery of that looked like a shot down, like a satellite imagery of the apparent crash site, and it looked like they'd like mirror brushed the
that was
a different thing, but
that was Grush, because he had said someone had obviously asked him what Ben mentioned earlier, that he physically hadn't seen anything, which wasn't true, because he ended up saying that he had been shown photos and documentation of these legacy reverse engineering programs.
But he'd only seen photos. That's what they asked him. They asked, have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then he carried on to saying that, I've got that in actual here, Grush, that he saw footage of a shoot down and said the craft was otherworldly. This is the one that you're talking about, JJ, where he has said that there was evidence of it being doctored to obviously remove what was there. He said as well, I think, JJ, you could obviously come in. Well, we could all come in with this. It's potential for this to also be interdimensional, mentioning of the holographic principle. We've mentioned it several times, and I believe Ben and I were speaking about this in the previous episode in depth, that it's potentially been living here, or whatever it is has been here for a long time, and it is interdimensional, because maybe space travel is still in its infancy or isn't quite what this phenomena is occurring. Granted that we know that they have radar data from what Fravors mentioned, saying that they have data of these things exiting the atmosphere past 80,000 feet, which is space, but that's not necessarily to say that that's where they're coming from. Their craft,
they might be going up that high and to use the rotation of the Earth to travel faster, to the other side of the Earth. It might not be like it just might be a faster way of traveling around the Earth rather than...
And how he had to use the holographic theory in saying that we're not saying that what I have come across is in extraterrestrial, but more potentially interdimensional, which obviously a congressman was like, can you explain? So then he mentioned, I do have a degree in physics or whatever the physics-based subject was, and then try to obviously dumb down the holographic theory. I can't remember who made it. Wasn't it a 3D person having a shadow shine toward a 2D world? Like these drones are projections almost, or potentially holographic images that are going from the fourth dimension into the third dimension to be able to see. And because we can't detect them in certain radars or whatever, and we can't understand how they're moving, and also that some people say these things just phase out almost, like they just disappear. So that's the idea that
they've recently, again with this Congress hearing, there's been another Congress hearing about remote viewing, hasn't there? So the remote viewings, so the idea that you can see something without being there, like you can and feel the environment. The thing you've just touched on there was talk, I can't remember if it was Graves, he said that one of the witnesses was at an Air Force base and he witnessed a giant red cube coming out of the ocean. And it came to the military base, and then he said that one almost just phased away. He said it had a movement, but he said it was either so fast that it just disappeared, or it almost phased away, just like went like that. But that was another interesting thing, because it was like it came out of the ocean, which is where the military base was near, and then just floated around the military base. But then that one was, I think did he say 15 foot long or 1.5 kilometers?
Apparently so, yeah. It was apparently the size of a football field or whatever, which is fucking big. going back onto the interdimensional thing, that's obviously way beyond our fucking wheelhouse. We're not scientists or anything like that, but this is what Grush was saying, wasn't it? It was just like, if we start focusing on not what they are, but what they're doing,
is probably more important, because unless we know what they're doing or what they want from us, the technology is completely like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the technology is. But he's claiming they've got the technology, but they just don't know how to use it. Or am I right in thinking that? I think that's what he kind of...
Or it's just being worked on, basically.
Yeah.
They're trying to reverse engineer it or whatever. But I mean, this goes back to what we said last episode, is that whatever they've got, we can only look at it from what we know, physics and science wise. We can't look at, like, say if theirs is 1,000 years in the future, we'll never understand it. Because
that's what Fravor said. It's at least 1,000 years further than, he said, even technology. I think he uses 20 to 30. So the thing that he's given 20 to 30 implies that it's something that the military know about. They just don't know about it. They're like,
they've got a gauge, clearly.
Saying 1,000 years is, for us, is infinite. Like it is 1,000 years, but I mean, you look back at 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what technologies did we have now that we have then that are still kind of like, close to what they were? The wheel. That's probably about it. The wheel and fabric.
Fire.
That's exactly. Technologies that are just complete, like, then are probably obsolete now. So, I mean, if he's talking about 20 to 30,
gauging
that's the not so distant future. Like, it's almost like the equivalent of a record player to an iPod.
Yes.
It does the same thing, but it's far superior. Whereas the wheel is, the wheel.
It's to say as well that they've clearly spoken about this and been like, well, they have this, and let's look at the crash retrieval we've got. Oh, yeah, that thing looks like it does exactly that. Yeah, I'd say 20 to 30. They've researched a gauge.
Yeah. So the technology that they have, that they must have also, again, technology that they're not allowed to speak about, which this is the thing for the whole Congress meeting in general for me that makes everything really difficult, is it's almost that wanting to tell people, but you just physically aren't allowed. You can't, because why should the public know about these things? Because it then in its essence becomes a homeland security issue again, because of Russia and China and North Korea and all those things.
What always amazes me about this UAP alien crap is that, like, why is it always America that they approach? And, like, I know there's been the sightings and stuff in the UK, like Rendlesham and that.
I went to Rendlesham.
I've been to Rendlesham as well.
Yeah, I did a bike festival there. It was, and I stayed in the woods next to the military base. Really? It was very fucking.
Did you see anything?
No, but I could understand how people did see things with all those weird concrete blocks that they've got everywhere. It's very peculiar, but no, that's another story.
But what you were saying about reverse engineering and stuff, and like having that technology, it reminds me a lot of the 2009 film Transformers: Rise of the Fallen, and how the whole premise of that is that the Transformers came to Earth and they were buried in ice, and then they slowly reverse engineered them to get to where we are within that film.
Without going off on too much of a tangent, which I tend to do, I watched another thing about Agatha yesterday. The Hollow Earth theory. Yeah.
Right.
So one of the theories that's floating around at the moment is that the aliens have, let's hypothetically speak about the aliens from another place, have crashed here and created a society, and it's just slowly like developed into us. So, the idea that we came from basically tadpoles, like minging things in the water.
Amoebas and
Yeah. So that to me makes more sense, that we've come from the center of the planet. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm saying it makes more sense, like logically, geographically, that whatever is coming here is more likely even before interdimension or extraterrestrial is coming from the center. Because that just makes more sense. It makes more, we're finding all these things buried. It doesn't necessarily mean that things have covered them. It means that it might have started from the middle and just slowly...
and made its way out.
Yeah.
Potentially,
yeah.
Well, so going back to Kevin, on Friday night, he said that we were put here by the Anunnaki.
Anunnaki.
And then at that point, everyone just got up and started putting their chairs away.
No.
Yeah,
he went, on the nose,
well, I believe that we
this
were put here by the Anunnaki. And everyone went, right, anyway, that's the time.
I think the problem with those... with those conversations though is if you don't know everything about everything sounds weird. So like if you knew about the Anunnaki and the history of our religion and all that,
well, he knew
stuff,
everything about everything because he mentioned it.
But he learned it all just like us, probably from a YouTube video that's super biased. So I mean, but then are you guys familiar with the Concrete podcast?
No.
So there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but it's Concrete with a K. He interviews a lot of people who are like experts in their field, but asks some questions that, like, for instance, he interviews a guy about the Anunnaki and the history of religion from the Anunnaki. And it's just like, everything he says makes total sense. But then he asks him about UFOs and he's just like, I don't know. He just goes, I don't know. Like
Flat Earth one, when we were like, oh, actually, I kind of believe the Flat Earth thing.
Yeah. So the problem is you just trust that the people who are experts in their field know, and this is where it goes back to this Congress thing. These people are experts in their field. So the two guys on the left, Graves and Fravor, I'm just like, what? When they're talking, I'm like, yeah, because they don't go, well, I'm an expert in my field and I believe this. They just go, that's all I know. I'm not saying anything else. I just, like Fravor, he's just like, all I know is I saw something. It wasn't of our human capability, and that's all I know. Whereas then you've got the guy in the middle who's almost got, he said 40 testimonials from people. So he's got 40 stories that might not be related at all, but he's almost just like bundled them all into a little story that's like, he can work out in his brain. That's where I struggle with that guy. So, like,
So in that case, then, I'll quickly do read out a few bullet points before we get to the theory. Go on.
I need another wee.
Oh,
Jesus
wow.
Christ. Well, because Ben, well, no, we'll wait for Ben before we go through the bullet points.
Because Ben's got the bladder of a 4-year-old.
I'm looking forward to reading this theory, though, on everything that was potentially leading to how David Grush has got to where we are, and how his initial investigations were to do with money laundering, but the fact that UAPs are involved is just a cherry on the top,
right?
Which I find it's the most interesting theory, and the one theory that makes total sense to me. So we'll wait for Ben to come back, and we'll get to that because you haven't read it. I haven't read it as well, so Ben could have some pushback on it. But I think it's I don't know. It just makes too much sense at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on the theory of all this stuff being very driven by our current society and philosophy, because all the stuff that you read about like magicians and people walking on water and things like that, it's just because the understanding at the time wasn't as it is now.
Yeah.
So like if they were seeing things like, let's just talk about Jesus. Jesus was walking on water and turning things into things. Like at the time that was miracle work. But it's exactly the same equivalent of going, like what I use the analogy of the record player and the iPod. It's like taking the iPod back 40 years and showing someone with a tape and a record player. Yeah. That person's like, what is this technology? It's mental. You know, and it's the same thing. So obviously,
Jesus could have just got a load of people and his disciples and said to them, right, sit them there, because when they look at this angle, they can see the bay of the water, whereas it's only that deep anyway.
Yeah.
But they think I'm all the way out here, because if I stand at this rock and they're looking from this angle, then I can just walk on the bay and it makes it look like I'm walking on water.
Snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Ganzi.
Or the Ganzi.
Ganzi.
That's a different. We should mention that though, because I feel that is, it's equivalent. It's just equivalent to what these guys in Congress are saying.
Well, that's
it's just a statement from somebody who.
Yeah, that's all it is. They're all just statements. Like
at this point,
when we talked on that podcast, when we talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago, Dean, it is the same as it when we used to read those forums of people like said they were time travelers, and it's, you know, a lot of this is just people going, I've got testimonies. Someone says it's just someone that believes something at the end of the day, right?
This is why with the two guys, this is just where I am right now. Imagine we're in the Congress hearing. Yeah. This is why immediately my two focuses are on Graves and Fravor. The guy in the middle, for me, is just a middleman, but he's not claiming he's anything other than that, which is also great. But I'm still a bit. But go on, Dean. Sorry.
Yeah. So I will read this theory because some I guess somewhere where we can sort of get toward wrapping up the episode or like the final chapter of it, essentially. So this was sent to me, texted me by my mate Dustin, who also is potentially going to be a guest on the show. Hopefully, he's Patreon member and he has his own podcast called the Nightstand Podcast. So give it a search, give it a follow. So he sent me this, and to me, this is the best outline as to how we got to where we are today. So it opens up with the guy just saying, "You don't know me, but I'm a retired Army JAG." I'm not too sure what that acronym is. I don't know.
JAG.
JAG.
It's a fighter pilot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is a JAG.
Oh, I'm not too sure, but he says so he knows about whistleblower stuff and how Inspector Generals work. And I hear people say he isn't a whistleblower. And he didn't see the alien bodies himself, and he doesn't have any first-hand evidence that aliens exist, or it's hearsay. These comments aren't wrong, but he's not whistleblowing by testifying aliens exist to Congress, and Congress barely cares about aliens. If you listen closely to the comments of Tim Burchett, I can't remember her full name.
A JAG is an
AOC.
Army judge, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Oh, right. Okay.
Judge Advocate General.
There we go. And also Matt Gaetz. So he says he listened closely to the comments of Tim Burchett, AOC, and Matt Gaetz. I'm sure they believe the part about aliens, but that's not their big issue. They're mad at how defense contractors are in control of our military. Here's the too long didn't read. Grush perfectly meets the definition of a whistleblower because he got professionally crushed, brackets I'm pretty sure, when he discovered and reported contract fraud around these secret access programs. But it's funny because a lot of people are distracted by the sensational aspect of these special access programs, aliens and alien spaceships. Remember, Grush isn't whistleblowing to you or to Congress. He blew the whistle to the Inspector General. The Inspector General found this credible and told Congress. I suspect Grush... I'll start that again. I suspect Grush asked a special access program contractor for his contract statement of work to see what was being done for the secret access program, and they didn't show it to him. Then he probably said, "Show me the invoices for your work so I can see what you do." Because I do the oversight now, which was Grush's job. And they couldn't show him invoices for the secret access program's work they were doing. So he probably brought one contractor in and put him under oath in the SCIF, which is the secret confidential. It's a room basically that's organized, that is soundproof, it's a classified meeting basically, for want of a better statement. He wanted to see his contract. He brought him into a SCIF. Hold on, I'm catching up with myself where I was. And they couldn't show him invoices for the secret access program work they were doing. So he probably brought one contractor in and put him under oath in the SCIF. And he got him to confess that they overbill for the likes of hammers and toilet seats to launder money so they can pay secret access programs under the table, brackets by padding invoices for other legit service contracts. That aren't authorized by contract to avoid congressional oversight, meaning they're contracted by the government, but then they don't have to answer to the government. Then some general probably fired Grush, who uncovered this government contract fraud, waste, and abuse. So the Inspector General checks the math and agrees, and they take it to Congress because it's the Department of Defense and Pentagon's senior leaders' misconduct that might indicate that the defense contracting industry, brackets military industrial complex, has bribed the most senior leaders of the Pentagon with 7 to 8 figure salaries in post-military retirement employment, like you mentioned, Ben. So it's getting gnarly fast, and the fact that everything is to cover up the existence of aliens and alien spaceships is just trivia at this point. Last paragraph. Then Grush's life is threatened, and Ross Coulthard of News Nation, who broke the story, steps in and offers him an interview to go public because once he does it, it makes no sense to kill him. It will only become more public. So he does the interview. But the Department of Defense approves it, and they probably said, okay, you can talk about aliens a little bit, but you can't talk about how the Pentagon is corrupt. So he's definitely a whistleblower, and he's given all the evidence about that he needs to the Inspector General. He's not whistleblowing to the public or Congress to prove his claims. The Inspector General has it, and they believe him. But you feel like he's trying to convince you aliens exist and we have recovered flying saucers. They do, and we have them. But that's what you care about. Congress cares about the Department of Defense corruption and the military-industrial complex capture of the Pentagon and them not being in control of how taxpayer dollars are spent. Grush doesn't care what we believe. He says, if you want to know, I told the Inspector General where everything is. Look for yourself. And he's suing the military for firing him from his job in the military and federal government because he discovered fraud and he got hammered over it, which absolutely makes him a whistleblower. That's what I sorted out from everything that was said at the congressional hearing on July 26th. Pretty sure that's the situation. I hear Grush saying, believe what you want. I'm telling you they exist, and if you don't believe me, I told the Inspector General everything I know, and you can go see for yourself. And he thinks the people should be told, and the tech/knowledge doesn't belong to these aerospace companies. End quote. So that, to me, is a solid theory, at least 99% solid, as to what it has taken for Grush to go forward and how these exotic materials are just the cherry on the top. And it will answer for decades and decades of absurd spending by the US government on the Department of Defense and the reason that they're failing every single audit they get by billions and billions of dollars.
But failing the audit and there's nothing happened. All these people should be sacked, right? But they don't.
Right, they should. Why aren't they getting sacked, though? And who's holding the audits?
But who also is the rank to sack them? This is what. This is where all this. Yeah, but this is the thing. If they're all paying each other off, like left, right, and centre, who is the highest ranking person to say? And everybody's got a price. So what I don't understand is this Inspector General. Like, surely the military complex that are hiding all this money could just be like, look, man, you'll never have to worry about money ever again. No one knows who the fuck you are. Here's all the money in the world. Just get rid of that guy. Either ridicule him, make him look like an idiot. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe that is pushing him out because now he can't be murdered and he can't be suicided. Maybe it's just like, let's just make him look like an idiot.
Right. Moving back to when you said, why can't, or both of you were just like, why aren't these people being fired or whatnot? Republica Ogles, I'm murdering his surname, but one senator brought up near the end after hearing everything, he announced that he was willing to enact the Holman rule, which gives Congress and Senate oversight to be able to cut budget immediately and also fire people on the spot. Essentially, if they then get all this information from the skiff that Grush said that he would do immediately after or whenever best possible, because all of this shit is so outlandish, one senator said that I would like to announce that I would enact the Holman rule, which gives them power to walk up to potentially, so this person, Boeing, is subcontracted by this general of the Department of Defense on 2017. Okay. Show me all your work that you're doing. No, we can't do you that. Right? Go and clear your desk. Fuck off. Next person in charge. Show us what you're doing. I can't. Clear your desk. Fuck off.
So the thing
that gives them the opportunity to do.
The thing that concerns me about that is, if we're not trusting let's just say we're not trusting the government can't be trusted.
Well, we know
and everyone's talking about taxpayers' money. So they use that as a buzzword all the time. They're spending taxpayers' money. We're the taxpayer. So somebody somewhere has to be like, well, we are the taxpayers. They don't deserve to know about all the stuff that's going on because it's secret, and they shouldn't know about it. So these people who are telling, you're talking about this one faction, trying to shut down this other faction, you're sacked, you're sacked, you're sacked. They've all got an agenda. The agenda has to be, the thing that in my mind I try and envision is, you've got this gnarly, dark government overlords but then you've got this like one super defendant guy who wants to like expose everything. They're all part of the same, like, unless they're not. This is what I'm like.
Right, so they're not. That's what it is.
But are they, or are they not? That's the thing, because from what I'm aware, Congress are part of the government.
Everything.
Right.
Yeah, they're everything. They're the overseers.
But are they higher rank than the military, or are they?
They are. And that's why Matt Gaetz had to pull rank when he went to Eglin Air Force Base and said that he wanted to see this radar data that alluded to a satellite image of a UAP. He turned up at the Air Force Base, said, show me your shit, I'm a representative. You can't see what we want. To which then he kind of threw the book at them and was like, I'm a congressman, I can do what I want in this.
But this is where I struggle with these kind of arguments, is because there is always someone high. There is always someone higher than you. Like, so who's higher than Congress? Like, I don't know, but who is higher?
I take it would be this House Senate or the Speaker of the House, maybe.
And it usually, what I found about that Congress meeting was that everybody on that Congress board or whatever it is, they all seemed super like, yeah, we're well into this. It was like, it wasn't a split decision like it usually is. It's usually like, well, I'm Republican and I'm blah blah blah. It was like, it almost felt like they all felt like uniform, apart from that one woman who talked about Chinese balloons for,
and she made it about
5
herself
minutes
immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask Grush to be like, can you talk about those aliens again? Yes, I will. Oh, but I just want to say, I give up my 5 minutes.
It was almost like it was from a script, but fuck her. But usually, like 20 years ago, it would have all been people like her. But the thing that I get not worried about, but all the people above them, for me, are all people like her. That's how I envision it. So
gotcha.
It's all well and good, like, because it's the same with like Labour and Conservatives. They all like, we're down with the people. We're you. This is us. We're in it together, and that's how they get people on board. And that's what I found about that Congress meeting. I was just like, I feel like I'm being scammed here, because I feel like they're all like, yeah, UFOs, and I'm like, oh, they're like me. They care about UFOs and stuff like that. But I'm just
feels too good.
That's where I'm like, everything's a bit fishy.
Never trust a politician.
But this is like
the votes, right?
Going back onto my point of that was, at what level do we start going, we have to believe the person now? Because we're never going to know how. Know, like, we're being told that those 3 people in front of us in that Congress meeting are all high-ranking military people who defended America. So we should trust them to an element with our lives, essentially, or America's lives or whatnot.
Sure.
So we should go immediately, they're higher ranking than us, they know more than us. And then they're in front of somebody who they're telling this stuff. But then those people on that Congress board have to go to another group of people and say, this is what we've heard today, because
gotcha.
And that's where I get like a little bit like on the fence about everything, because I'm just like, where does that rank stop?
Where does the hierarchy really lead to?
Literally, where is it? Because then that, even in my mind, that's when it starts going into them fucking wild pyramids where it's just like, like Freemasons and then fucking
Illuminati at the top.
Zionism and
right?
fucking.
It's going to splinter off. It goes from, obviously there's government in this one pyramid, and then like you get to a certain thing, and then you got the black ops, and then that goes off over there, and then they're outside of the government, but they know more because they've got like they're invested in it, and it's a private
subcontracts from the Pentagon and Department
apparently
of Defense.
the buck stops with the president, but he doesn't know fuck all. Well, he don't know anything because he's lost his mind. But like, you know what I mean? Like the president should be the last one. But then obviously, like you've got people like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama who are meant to like say they're
Barack Obama.
What? Anyway, he's Barack Obama. It's his name.
Barack Obama.
No, Barack Obama. That's how you say his name.
Michelle Obama. I was allowed to call him Mick.
It sounds like a star of a fucking posh restaurant.
Barack Obama. Anyway.
Michelle Obama.
Anyway, you would think that these people would like go, yeah, I've like Barack Obama said like said that there's no such thing as aliens, and he asked the question. So Bill Clinton as well.
Yeah.
My
But
heart rate.
we all know that that's not where it stops. Like, we know that the president isn't where it stops.
That was hard.
That was good.
Right, but I think Ben, you need to get to your bits, your little
Right,
bits.
so I mean, my bits are all very, very loose, and it's just my opinion, and I really have no evidence to the contrary that aliens exist or don't exist, or all this is a psyop. But for Edward Snowden to tweet out of nowhere, don't believe it. There is no aliens. This is all like, don't believe it. And he's even like that. I looked into it, and in 2019, he said that he'd accessed every CIA file he could, looking for proof of aliens. And he couldn't find anything.
I don't doubt that he did though, but he's not hacking into the likes of Raytheon, Lockheed Martin.
But he would have access.
They're not connected to the. No, he wouldn't, because then they're indirectly connected to the Department of Defense. They're subcontracted. They can't. Their servers aren't linked to the Pentagon. They are their own servers. That's why they can't. That's why everything is hidden, because they don't have to abide to the Freedom of Information Act. So
He
of course
said,
Snowden didn't see shit.
This is the tweet, right? On
Share it with me. I need to see this.
February the 13th, 2023. Right?
Okay.
He said, "It's not aliens. I wish it were aliens, but it's not aliens. It's just the old engineered panic, and an attractive nuance ensuring NatSec reporters get assigned to investigate balloon bullshit rather than budgets or bombings, a la Nordstrom." Until next time. And that's what I believe.
One point here. When's the last time you saw Edward Snowden in the public eye?
It's not really him.
AI.
So another point.
AI would Snowden
on my psychology side of things. The first two lines of that. Say the two lines again, Ben.
It's not aliens. I wish it were aliens.
So that's saying it's not aliens. So I'm Edward Snowden. I'm authority. It's not aliens. But I really wish it.
There's no grammar either.
I really wish it was, which is almost going. It's not aliens. I'm telling you, it's not. But I wish it was. I'm one of you. That's where I see it, because it's like, I really wish it was. I'm one of you, but it isn't. So it's almost getting down to that ground level where we're at, saying, "Oh, look at this guy. It's Edward Snowden. He's cool. He rebelled against the system." I don't think Edward Snowden's still alive. I genuinely think.
Wow.
I don't think he's no. And I aren't just saying that to be. I haven't had a drink today. Even though looking at my face and my nose, you would be like, he's had a drink today.
Right. So this is another Snowden tweet from February. It said, "The whole system revolves around the idea that the majority can be made to believe anything, so long as it's repeated loudly and often, and it works." I agree. I think that's what it is. But yeah, he hasn't tweeted since July the 14th. He hasn't tweeted about this.
I genuinely don't think Edward Snowden's still alive.
Do you know?
So like,
I don't.
All the blurry photos, you still see a Julian Assange as well. I'm just like,
I still don't think that Edward Snowden would have been able to even find, like Gary McKinnon, like he was doing his hacking like for ages without being caught, and he said he was trying to look in like NASA and stuff like that, and he claims he found, he saw like folders and photoshopped imagery, but he was unable to save it. Like, if he claims that at NASA, which I'm like, I don't believe, because these subcontractors, why would the Pentagon and the Department of Defense have any information stored in their departments on these subcontracted aerospace places? It's taken Grush to put this paper trail together. Like, why would Snowden just be like, boop, 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 boop. Okay, there's a picture of me on Saturday night that I am completely unaware of. There's a picture of my next door neighbor. There's all my chat shit. Oh, look, UFOs. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It turns out, what was his name, Ben? The prime minister, president at the time?
Barack Obama. What?
You know, you were just talking about Edward Snowden, like doing this. All I could envision is him and all his friends, like in the scene in Hackers, where they're all like flying through the cyberspace. He's just like, woo! When in fact it's just loads of numbers and zeros. And
I don't buy that he would even know. I don't think he would even know. The same way I don't think Gary McKinnon actually saw evidence of UFOs on NASA's systems.
I just
don't believe it.
think and it goes to my final point on the why now, why is it coming out? There's still no real evidence. There's still no leaks. There's nothing. There's, people share these Twitters.
Other than the gimbal, tic tac, and
but that's not evidence, is it really? It's just something they've seen. It's an anomaly. It's all it is.
Sure.
There's
okay, yeah, I'll take that.
It's just an anomaly. There's nothing to say, this is what this was, and this is what caused it. There's nothing.
So we need the radar data and stuff.
We need something that goes, this is what it is. This is where it went. This is where it's been. Because they go, oh, we've seen it, and then it's gone. But that literally could just be something going wrong on their system.
But for you, Ben, how many people does it take
to screw in a light bulb?
No, yeah. How many people does it take for you to believe it? Because the problem is,
I don't need anyone.
You could have half the population of the world saying, "I've seen UFOs," but if you haven't seen it yourself, do you still believe it's real?
Until I've seen something that I believe is. There's so much smoke being blown.
Yeah,
but I'm not
Where's
seeing
the
a fire.
Exactly. I see what you mean.
Where's the fire? Like you could tell. Like the amount of times we've done research on things, and I've gone, yeah, okay, I can see where that's gone from. And we can work things out from that. But with this alien, this UFO, this UAP thing, right now, all I can think is they're just drip feeding little things that
too much overclassification.
And it's just too much. Like I can't tell you about that. I can't tell you about that. I can't tell you about that. And until someone goes, here's the.
I can tell you about that.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Until Grush goes, right, this is what I found. Right, believe it or not, but this is what I found. This is why the Inspector General let me open up the case. Until I get that file, and he goes, this is why I believe aliens exist. I don't believe any of it. I just think it's all fucking bullshit. And I want to be proved wrong, and I've said it 1,000 times. How many times have I said it? I want to believe. I just can't believe this fucking shit.
So really, your point will be proven.
Okay.
Hold on. Your point will be proven when Grush, Graves, and Fravor are arrested and imprisoned for perjury.
Or I'll be completely wrong, and that all of it will come to light. And you go, or because I'll either concede if they go, it's all been US military, or it's all military fighter jets that we just didn't want to tell people have. I'll concede and go, yeah, I believe it. He was right, but the wall was pulled over his eyes. It was actually great tech. Or it's either
and there was also massive, and there was massive money laundering going on.
Which I fully believe that. I fully believe, like when he said, I believe that all this money's going missing, and they're using it just to pay each other more. And I can hear JJ weeing in his headphones.
Yeah.
I believe that the reason that people are going alien tech is they're going, we've just been stealing money off the government. There's no way we're spending 600 billion a year on fucking guns and shit. We're all siphoning money off. We're all saying it's black ops and special ops shit, but what it is just money going into a folder. That money then goes spread around all the shareholders, and it's gone. It's gone. It doesn't get turned into anything.
Doesn't touch anywhere to be.
Doesn't touch anything. It doesn't get spent on anything. It goes into a pot that's called Black Ops, or
SAP.
Whatever,
program,
SAP or Black Ops, and it goes into this folder. It sits there for 3 months, and then the money is then shared amongst shareholders. There's nothing is getting built, nothing is going crazy, and all they need is something to go right. And I've never done this, but it's creating an invoice for something that didn't happen. Like they're making evidence so they can go, oh, this is what the money went on. This is what the money's gone on.
This.
And I've never done this. I've never made a receipt for something that didn't actually get purchased for an insurance company. I've never done that. But what that is what they're doing. They're just creating evidence, a chain of evidence for money laundering and taking money out of stuff. It's all that is. The Tic Tac video. Like Fravor, they've probably gone, just tell us fucking lie, mate. We'll give you fucking fortune, mate. Like, and I don't actually believe that he would do that, but he seems like a genuine person. But it all to me, all of it feels like fake evidence to cover up people spending money.
Right? Yeah, I can see that point of view for sure.
That's my point of view on it, because we've done, and I reckon 3 years ago, before we did this podcast, I wouldn't have got to that conclusion. But because everything we've researched throughout, be it 7/7, be it Diana, be it Benet Ramsey's or whatever her name is,
right,
everything, it's always the simplest fucking thing that is the outcome, and the simplest thing in this,
that her brother did it.
Yeah, it's her brother did it. He raped her, and then the mum and dad covered it up.
Yep.
End of. Right.
Benet Ramsey for listeners.
Jean Benet Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, Jay just go, actually, I've got a new theory.
No. So in this whole time we've been chatting about this, in the however many months we haven't been doing the podcast, or I haven't been doing it, me and Dean have definitely been more on the side of there is UFOs.
Yeah.
You know, I only have one, and it's kind of an idea of yours, but I think it's an even simpler version of what you're saying. And for me, I'm like, it seems like the most logical thing there is. So when George Bush was trying to strike fear in Americans about the Middle East and about how they've got weapons of mass destruction and all this, and still to this day, there's been no proof.
No, because they weren't.
That they have, right. So this is my theory, and I think I probably aren't the only person in the internet, and I might have read it somewhere, but I don't think I did. All I can think about is, if you're potentially worried about World War, and you're like, we've already used the weapon of mass destruction thing, we've got nuclear weapons, blah, 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 blah. But then you're like, how can we scare people of other countries even more than we've actually got alien technology that we don't even understand, but we know that it's really powerful. David Fravor constantly just keeps saying it's way beyond our idea of physics.
Capabilities,
Yeah. And they there's quite, I don't know if they touch on it much in that, but they talk about the light beam, the light. So I'm sure it's David Fravor talks about it. I don't know if he talks about it on that or he talks about it in a podcast. But he talks about a light weapon, a laser weapon, which he describes as a bullet goes from here to here. He says it goes ding, like zoom, straight to that point.
Instantaneously, right.
But he talks about a light weapon that doesn't have a form of, it doesn't transverse. It literally
just appears.
It just goes bang, bang. That's it. It's bang. There's no middle laser.
It's and like he talks about light bulb.
Yeah. And he talks about that quite a lot in his in the podcast that he's on.
Is that with Lex Friedman or merged?
There's one where he's really close to the guy. Like they're literally sat on a table and they're just like right next to each other. And they're almost using the same. They're using the same microphone.
Is it the Ryan Graves himself? His merged podcast.
I'm not too sure, but they talk about this weapon.
Yeah,
Like without going too much into that because that's a different fucking story. But if they're trying to say, look, we've got all these weapons and we've got them behind all these facilities. So it's basically the same as what George Bush did. He was like,
pennies dropping now. I understand what you're saying.
These guys have got these weapons, but he's like, they're doing it the other way. They're saying,
they're doing it as a charade.
We've got this weapon. Yeah. We've got this fucking, we've got these and don't mess with us. You might have nuclear weapons, but we've got weapons that are 1,000 years more advanced than a nuclear weapon. And for me,
I'm merging your idea with my idea and saying that's it.
Yeah,
that's the idea.
So I'm just like,
we've stirred some ideas up in the think walk and come up with that.
The think walk.
Araco, the think walk.
Stirring up those ideas.
Where's this coming from? I love it.
So that's for me, that is the most simplest form, because we're never going to know about what's going on in these higher echelons, but that is the simplest form of manipulation. In my mind, it is literally, that is the PSYOP. It is convincing Russia, China, North Korea that we've got this fucking alien technology.
It's as it, right. So what's happened is someone in one of these black projects has approached Lou Elizondo at ATIP and sat there and said to him, we've got this shit that we're ready to use and flex. Kind
No,
of
I don't even think they've got it.
No, I don't think they've got it.
You don't think they've got it?
No, it's just a
No.
flex. It's all a fucking flex.
I would my idea, but I am still of the idea. I want to believe, but the idea that it's just an idea right now. Like for it's just the George Bush thing. George Bush told everyone that the Middle East had weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
Still no proof. There is no proof that
they didn't have them. Let's say.
Yeah.
So
man,
it's basically like we've got this weapon. You know, it's like
it's the best weapon. It's
it's a thousand years more
thousands of years advanced weapon.
Like
very advanced.
Yeah. Well good.
And putting it in the public eye just makes it transverse faster. So people are just like, you know, people in Russia are probably talking about it and going, "Fucking hell, have you heard that they've got these?"
Yeah,
you know, because
of course.
why are none of these? So there is a few accounts of UFOs in the Ukraine. There's been a recent was a recent crash somewhere. But
they were saying that there was a lot of radar people picking up UAPs across Ukraine and
stuff. That was unidentified American fighter jets dropping bombs on Russia.
But you might find that now there is a lot more countries coming forward saying we've got alien technology as well. But it's 2,000 years more advanced. Like
ours is actually 3,000 years more advanced. So
So I remember hearing a cool take in saying, like, so someone was like, "What if nobody actually has nuclear weapons and we're all just like putting on a massive front to each other?"
Well,
and then someone else said, "Well, what if the aliens have already shut down nuclear facilities across the entire globe, but nobody wants to admit it?"
Yeah.
Like everyone's had their shit shut down, but it's still like, no, ours are working. Prove it. No, you prove yours are working.
That was one of the things, right? That apparently some aliens went to a nuclear missile base in the States, turned on all the nuclear warheads.
Yeah, that was in Montana.
And then turned them all off, and they've never been able to get them back on.
Yeah, it was the missile silos. There was 10 of them.
And they turned them all on.
I'm pretty sure that was in Montana, wasn't it? And that has data behind it. That has like the people that work there that are able to prove that they work there, and they were like, "Well, yeah, we don't work there anymore because
they don't work because they're aliens."
There is an old testimonial of a guy who said that did they shoot something and they saw a UFO and it went round the edge of the warhead and deactivated.
Yes, I remember
it just
hearing
became
about
a missile.
That. Yeah, dude with long hair, long beard, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was talking about that. Yeah,
well,
that's a classified video.
Sounds trustworthy.
But
long hair, beard. I'm sold.
All right. That's my thoughts on it. JJ's giving his thoughts on the whole thing. What's your thoughts on it, Dean?
I believe that the tech is there. I am now, along with, although JJ's theory was to a point in saying that, oh no, we don't actually have it, it's just all a front. I think it is a case of them actually having it and wanting to be able to use it publicly to be able to be the dominant force on the planet. That's what I believe.
Just quickly there, that was theoretical thought that I was saying. Right. I was saying that's what I believe that they probably did.
Yeah, what if?
But I still think they might have something, but they just don't know how to use it. That's
right.
You know, but it's almost just been like saying anything, isn't it? Like, oh, I've got this fucking amazing idea, but unless it comes to fruition,
just believe me, trust me,
exactly,
sort of thing. Yeah. I believe there is tech there, and I believe all three of them because, as far as I'm concerned, the lies and the allegations from Grush are way too outlandish to claim and not be investigated, to which then, if it's a lie and he is throwing people under the bus, he will just go to prison for perjury. And I don't understand why he would try.
I don't think he's thrown anyone under the bus.
Well, along with the hostile names and the lists of the people.
Is he giving up names, though?
He said in a skiff that he would. And he's handed it to the Inspector General already, which has allowed him to get to Congress. So he has given it to the...
all part of the same... They're all cogs in the same machine, Dean. They're all cogs in the same machine.
But are they?
All government.
But are they?
Yes.
Prove it.
I don't need to. They need to prove it. They need to prove aliens. They need to prove aliens.
Prove it. Grush will be
That's
in
what
prison.
I said I was going to do. You're doing
Grush
my
will be
thing.
Grush will be in prison if he's lying. That's the fundamental truth.
Yeah, but Trump should be in prison and he's not.
That's television.
He stole, right? You know, he took.
I don't know anything about this.
Do you know about what he took? He took the US military's plan for North Korea. He took it to the golf course and was showing people in the locker room. He was asking, he was telling people, he took it after he left office. He goes, do you want to see like our plan for North Korea? And he was showing people in the locker room at Mar-a-Lago.
Is that what
That is
Barack
true.
Obama tweeted?
No, that is what that was done. That was what was said in the court hearing. And he was just like,
so
yeah,
why is he not in prison?
Because his shit don't stick to Donald Trump.
Because he hasn't been proven, I guess.
He has. He's charged. He's been charged.
So he should be in prison.
But he's not going to prison. He'll probably get house arrest, I reckon. Maybe
Until
he'll go
Grush is
to
in prison.
Puerto Rico.
Like Andrew Tate, who was going to prison and then was on house arrest, and now he's not on house arrest.
Yeah, Tate got away. It didn't Tate that. Now he's been charged again, though, right? Him and his brother again.
Don't think so.
I don't know anything about these two.
Mate,
Like,
absolutely.
I hear the names. I don't know.
Worst people.
Are they gangsters or something? That's what I've kind of
Andrew
made
Tate is just I think he just says so much shit. Someone's gone, fuck this guy, and just gone accused him of something, and they just arrested him.
But who is he? Like, I have
Just a
never
YouTuber.
heard of him
He's
until
a
he got. Oh, he's a
kickboxer.
YouTuber.
He's a kickboxer turned
Kickboxing
podcaster.
and chess champion.
Wow.
Mate, the guy's a
okay.
fucking
But like,
loser.
what? He's is just like money laundering and shit like that. Then, like,
No,
is
it
he
was
just-
the
trafficking.
thing was human trafficking. But he owned, him and his
okay.
brother had a cam website. So, and one of the girls
shit.
has become
right.
disgruntled,
And
I
he's-
believe.
and he just happens to live in Romania, isn't it?
I think
He was in Romania.
I think he was on a tax dodge from what I.
Yeah, that sounds more like it, doesn't it? Oh, well.
But
But
he's the problem is he's been given that voice by everyone that's told white boys that they're bad and they're rapists. So they've gone, well, this guy's not. He's saying I'm not that, so I'll go and listen to him. That's what's happened. That's what's happened.
oh, okay, he's that kind of right.
But
okay.
do you also
He's
not
basically-
find that that's what Edward Snowden is? He's a voice of the people. He's like this. You know, I'd like to believe that everything that he's doing is legit. But if it was legit, would he be given the voice? Like, surely somebody would have been like, shut that guy's Twitter down. You know, it's not hard.
Yeah, I think don't misname Twitter. It's X now, guys. Hit us up on X. On X. I don't know if X.com exists yet, but hit us up on X. It's not another con.
Right,
Exus.
but great episode.
Yeah.
At least I feel like it was. Don't know whether the listeners enjoyed it, but I hope you all did.
Find out. There's a
We'll probably just get some awful comments as usual.
yeah.
Do some research, Lance.
Hagrid's back. it's Barack Obama.
Right, and
twat.
and then to the listeners out there that have been bullying JJ since he's been gone. He's back now, so you can say it to his face on the comments rather than doing it behind his back. That wasn't very nice. He's trying
Bullies.
to raise a child.
Yeah. On £15 a quarter.
Leave my mate alone.
Thank you very much for listening to Not Another Conspiracy Podcast. Join the Discord. All the links are in the description below. Aliens aren't real, according to me. JJ believes they aren't either. And Dean
No.
has changed
Whoa,
his
whoa,
mind.
whoa, 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 whoa. No. I do
No.
believe
And
it.
everyone is in
Aliens are real.
agreement. I was right. Aliens aren't real, and Grush is a liar.
Ben's a lying twat. Barack Obama said.
It's
Michelle.
Ubermar. It's Ubermar. What are you on about?
Obama.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
See you
Bye.
soon.
See you later. Bye.
That was great. Very fun.
Let's go.
Let's go. That was great.
Barack
That was
Obama.
great.
Oh,
Barack
oh,
Obama.
mate.
What happens? When it comes to it.
In the
Thing. Oh, maybe they did. So in the back there is a
light brown jacket.
cool story.
Without the fire